I was a senior in college, and I recently found out that I was going to work at the college after I graduated.
I met him at Middlebury. He was the leader of the first-year counselors.
Anyway, I got sorted into a commons called Atwater, which was in the bottom east part of the campus, and Thea was sorted into a commons called Brainerd, or actually maybe better compared to like the Harry Potter houses. And so you get sorted by the sorting hat, which is actually probably just someone's Microsoft Excel sheet.
And there was a party for all of the new residential life staff.
Thea was one of them. Was one of, I think, 13 or so people that were there.
I just saw him across the room and thought he was beautiful. And that's when I first met him.
This is a little bit of a topic of debate.
Could have been, I don't know, when we were all playing Mario Kart in his room, or when we went to get sushi in Burlington.
I think that our first date was after I started that job with the college. One of our tasks was to help the first year students, move into their freshman dorms. Everyone was very, very tired and a little cranky by the afternoon, so the dean asked me to pick up 12 pizzas from a local pizza shop called Bermuto's, and she said that I could pick one person to go with me to pick up the pizzas.
And Reed picked me to come and help him because he thought I was pretty.
And so I don't know if this counts as a date. I guess for some reason I thought that it counted as a date, but we went to pick up the pizzas together.
It was one of those things where we went at Middlebury. It was a small town, so there weren't very well-defined dates. They're just more like hanging out.
You know, over the next few months just grew much closer, so I kind of saw that as an instigating moment.
I'm not quite sure what was the first date.
I also learned that day that she really loves Lord of the Rings, and she requested that the soundtrack that we played on these loudspeakers outside when the students were moving in, she wanted it to be the Lord of the Rings soundtrack, and I think we ended up going with something more pop culture, lack of a better terms. One thing I love about her is this sort of appreciation for what we have. Just the fact that every living being, every person, every animal is a kind of a miracle. And I think that's something that she truly believes and imparts to other people.
Well, he's happy a lot, and you know, when you're around happy people, you're happier yourself. So people just gravitate towards him. Because he just makes them feel happy.
Whenever she smiles and laughs, it makes me happy, and I can see that it makes other people around her happy.
I love his smile. It's a very happy smile, and it makes me happy to see it. And you can just tell all the time, it like radiates out of him. He's just the kindest person you'll ever meet.
She's beautiful.
And he's beautiful.
Another thing that I love about Thea is just kind of exploring literature that I'd have not really seen in anyone else, including myself, who studied books and literature in college. It's something that she has a sort of private passion for, and I really appreciate that she has these sort of intellectual pursuits that she kind of holds dear.
He's extremely smart, and I can have very real conversations with him. I love how sweet he is. I love how special he thinks I am.
Thea has taught me how to value happiness in a way that I didn't before I met her. And that sort of underlying principle has really changed my life and the way that I see the world and the things that I do in my day-to-day and the way that we sort of think about our future.
Yeah, there's nothing I don't like about him. He is basically perfect.
Well, Jon Snow is a character in Game of Thrones who's... Oh, I mean the cat.
Jon Snow is our fur baby.
Thea refers to him as our fur baby.
He's very important to us. Some might even say that he gets a little bit too much attention from us.
He's also a character in Game of Thrones. Carl and Elise had this idea that they could get her a kitten for Christmas. And we went to Carl's house, and Thea was there, Leaf and Elise were there, all of her siblings.
And they just told me to close my eyes, and they put him in my lap, and I knew his name, after seeing him for like 10 seconds, that it was Jon Snow. He's a tough guy who wears this big black cape. We brought him back to the apartment. He kind of settled in. He broke our television just a few weeks later. And rather quickly, he went from being scared of Jon Snow to being obsessed with him and talk about him frequently. He'd, sometimes I'd be the one like, he's fine, we can go and do this or that, and he'd be like, but do you think he's happy? You think he's okay? And we like to confer with him on big life decisions. And I also think that it kind of made us feel like we had this little family in Somerville. I think we both really love him a lot. Became a very conscientious dad, or as we like to call it, the pawpaw. Loves him so much and wants to snuggle all the time. So they are a very happy pair, those two. I'm really looking forward to being married and with the Jon Snow cat around as our little fur baby. Thea got an interview in Maine, and we decided to drive up to Maine together. So it happened to be our 6.5-year anniversary on that day, so something special about 6.5 was the day that he chose. At some point I thought we'd go to Maine and I would stop in Cape Elizabeth at a beach called Kettle Cove Beach. A beach that he'd gone to a lot as a kid because it was just down the road from the house he grew up in. It's not so much the beach, I guess, which I thought was cool, but it actually has this grassy peninsula that juts out over the ocean, so you can kind of walk out. It feels kind of like Ireland, Cliffs of Moher kind of thing. And I had this idea that if I brought the drying rack along, I could hang my iPhone off of the drying rack and try to take a selfie of us. Yeah, I had no idea what that was for. And I was in this big rush to get us out of the Boston area because I was trying to make this sunset time that I looked up on the internet, and I was visibly stressed out, I think. I remember we made a pit stop and went into the store to buy some snacks, and also came back with this little stuffed penguin that is now named the Dorito, because she told me she was going in to buy Doritos and instead came back with this little guy. We'd done some ring shopping a few months earlier when we went on an anniversary trip to Montreal. But it had been a few months, so I guess I was in like a constant state of like, I wonder if it'll be this or this or this.
So Thea, me, the drying rack, the rings, and the Dorito penguin are now on the way to Maine at a pretty brisk pace, trying to catch the sunset at Kettle Cove Beach. And we made it, and I proposed to her on this little grassy area.
Then got down on one knee and said something along the lines of, "Pengy, will you marry me?" Which is my nickname, one of my many nicknames.
And we had a really nice purple and red sunset. It was very, very cold.
And of course I said yes.
I totally forgot about the drying rack, which is, in retrospect, a good thing, I think. And someone happened to take our picture nearby.
So it's cute. It's just a small little people in the distance. And they sent it to us, so that was really nice.
And I guess most importantly, she said yes. And we went out to dinner after that. It was a really fun night. We called our parents, and it was a really fun day.
It was just very us. It was not a big to do, and it was a very private and romantic moment right next to the ocean at sunset. So it was beautiful, and it showed he really knew me and knew what would be a good place and time to do that. So. It looks awesome. We have some definite plans that we want to happen, like places we want to go.
I know that Thea really wants to go to Greece and Egypt. We're interested in going to Scandinavia. When Thea and I sort of reflect on these trips, I think we both see them as a really positive part of our relationship. Something else that I think we're thinking a lot about is what do we want to be doing in these places. So we're both sort of, I think, discovering new things about our career and what we want to do. And so based on those goals and how they sort of fit into our life, I think we'll also make decisions about what we want to be doing in those different places.
We'll definitely be adding to our fur family. So, hopefully Jon Snow will be getting sibling before too long. We'll have a kid or two at some point.
All this is pending approval by Jon Snow. I don't want to say anything too concrete because we haven't checked in with him. One thing we'd like to do is just spend more time cooking and preparing meals for friends. And kind of going back and reflecting on some of the stuff that we discovered in Europe.
We're gonna just see what comes, stick together and figure out what's best and not be afraid to change lanes if we need to. But we'll know that we're safe doing so because we have each other. So yeah, I don't know what will be next, but it'll be good.